Good morning and welcome to Theater 2. If ladies and gentlemen would like to find their seats, we'll be able to start here in just a couple minutes. Building and maintaining enterprise systems. In his 7 years at DISA, he's also been the chief engineer for DEE, Mobility, Voice Services, and CBII. Constance Janae is a senior program manager at GDIT, supporting DISA and enterprise services, overseeing a team that designs and implements O365 solutions. She's passionate about innovative cloud solutions and knowledge management, as well as music, holding a postgraduate degree in music performance from the Royal Academy of Music. Nick Giard is Microsoft's principal PM for DEOS and Microsoft's enterprise cloud engineering team, which is focused on government cloud. He spent over 17 years as a leader, architect, and developer of mission-focused IT solutions within the U.S. federal market. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Carissa Landymore.
Good morning. So, Constance, does this mean if you break out in song, we shouldn't be surprised?
Didn't you guys know? DEOS the musical. DEOS the musical.
That's right, DEOS the musical. All right, so before we kick off, we do have a video for you, just to kind of what we call our commercial for DEOS. So we'll kick that off before we transition.
Here, with the DEOS suite of capabilities, DoD organizations can standardize cloud adoption, collaborate across departments, and seamlessly integrate multiple capabilities while reducing DoD's IT footprint. Available for use by all DoD components, it is easy to acquire through a one-stop shop for licensing, collaboration, and migration needs. Offering the flexibility, security, mobility, and collaboration required to meet department needs, the DEOS contract enables warfighters to meet the mission in the field, in remote locations, or from their home office. DEOS offers warfighters flexibility without compromise, enabling O365 enterprise collaboration capabilities for IL5 NIPRNet and IL6 SIPRNet environments. Integrated with several security features, including cloud security assessments, compliance monitoring, threat detection, and more, you can feel secure knowing your data is protected against the cyber threat vectors of today and tomorrow. DEOS enables the DoD to operate and fight worldwide, so mission-critical information is accessible when needed. With collaboration at its core, DEOS streamlines DoD's use of cloud email, enterprise telephony, and productivity tools so organizations can collaborate securely. The DEOS suite of capabilities marks the beginning of a new age of secure, cloud-based collaboration to modernize and support our future DoD workforce. It's time to embrace the power of DEOS. Learn more now.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Carissa Landymore. I am the DEOS Program Director. Really excited to have the opportunity to come back this year and talk about DEOS, our cloud collaboration portfolio. As I think about and was reflecting on preparing for today, it's hard to believe that it's been a year since we were up here talking about our strategy to deploy cloud collaboration capabilities into the SIPRNet. Talk about DoD 365 integrated phone system and what we were doing to make that a reality. And I'm happy, that we're no longer talking about our strategy. Today's focus is on how we're going to be executing that. There's a lot coming up in the summertime, and my remarkable panel here to the right, we're going to spend a lot of our time today talking about where we are with IL6. But before we do that, if you could go to the next slide for me. I want to cover our DEOS portfolio. A lot of folks, when they think about DEOS, they think about our DoD 365J tenant, which is our unclassified cloud collaboration environment, and they think about IL6. But DEOS is a much larger portfolio that provides a full suite of capabilities. So I want to take a minute and kind of walk through and provide some metrics on what we do in addition to to managing the J tenant and pushing out IL6 this year. So starting on the left, we have our blanket purchase agreement. This is through GSA, in partnership with GSA. Our blanket purchase agreement was stood up back in October of 2020. And you can kind of see on the right there, since it's been made available, the great work that these folks have done. Folks have purchased over 1.97 million subscription licenses. We've had over 102 task orders and orders completed with an overall value to date of 1.74 billion. A lot of work goes into that to make that happen, and it's really with the partnership with GSA, the prime vendor GDIT, Dell, Minburn. But there's more than just the licenses that are offered on the BPA. So you can see on the left there, licenses is obviously a key point, but operations and maintenance is also another factor as well. We have the ability for folks that have their own tenant, so not just DoD 365J. GDIT also helps support operation and maintenance of other tenants as well. Anybody that needs support, they can leverage this vehicle for operation and maintenance support, enterprise architecture support, DDIL, which is the disconnected operations that's underway, secure cloud, of course, migration support, training support. So there's a lot there, and it can really be used for any of your cloud needs. So I encourage you, if you have questions, please come see us after, and we'd be happy to answer questions. As we move to the right, DoD 365J. A lot of great work underway here. As most of you are probably aware, on the IL5 side, or on the unclassified environment, we have roughly 14 tenants. It's a federated environment across the Department of Defense. We, however, in the DISA DEOS world, have the most diverse tenant. We support over 80 plus different defense agencies and combatant commands. A lot of stuff happening there, right? You're very familiar with the productivity suite, and we're going to talk about how we're rolling that out in IL6. But there you're getting all of your Exchange Online, your SharePoint, your OneDrive, but a lot going on there from an operational side as well. And that was established in 2021. We also have our DEOS hub that's out there. So while we support a lot of the defense agencies and combatant commands, the other 14 tenants are welcome to come to our hub and take advantage of the wonderful work that our strategic communications team has done. There's a lot of quick reference guides, training materials, things that folks can use to quickly get themselves up to speed to leverage the great tools, collaboration capabilities that are available with the suite. And then DoD 365SEC, I'm going to hold on that because that's really the focus of our panel today, so we'll come back to that. DoD 365 Integrated Phone System, or DIPS. This was a big one that we talked about last year as well. This was something that is really the evolution from our Teams audio conferencing. So if you think about what we have available in Teams today, being able to make audio conferencing with a meeting ID and access code, this is really that evolution, taking it the step further to now be able to have the soft phone capability to make inbound and outbound calls as well. So that's going to offer the opportunity to reduce our hardware footprint with our phones, be able to cut down on our costs for commercial calling because now it's going to be peered teams to teams. If you have any additional questions on this, please, don't hesitate to let us know. We do have, Laura, go ahead and wave. We have our project lead and our lead engineers over there. They're nodding, making sure I'm saying it all right. So they're here as well. So please come see them if you have questions. They're doing a tremendous amount of work for the department. This is not just supporting the DoD 365J customers. This is really supporting all of the tenants. So this is a really big deal, and we're excited of the work that's underway there. And then something cool that the agency did and our senior leaders did is they came together and they reorganized this to bring the legacy services, DEE and DEPS, and folded us into one office. And that was really to help our mission partners as they transition from the legacy capability into the enduring capability, which is DoD 365J. So DEE, which is the on-prem enterprise email capability, and DEPS, which is your on-prem SharePoint capability, are now under the DEOS portfolio, and that team is focused, the user engagement team, and Kate Feltz is out there somewhere. Say hi, Kate. She leads that effort to help transition mission partners moving from those capabilities into IL5 as well, which has really helped with a seamless transition. So a lot of great work there. Now we're going to talk about these capabilities and where they are in their sunset, which is huge because we're talking about reducing our hardware footprint, simplifying the way that we manage and operate these environments. So just to touch on these quickly, DEEC or DEE classified will be sunsetting this September for both the DAFAs and the combatant commands, and for the services in March of 2024. So we're going to touch on where we are with IL6 and how we're going to make that a reality here in just a moment. As we look at the DEPS capability, that's our SharePoint. That is in the process of sunsetting, and that will be this September as well. So you can see busy summer in the DEOS portfolio. And then recently, the DEPS classified, the end of December, we will be turning off for DISA. We want to eat our own dog food first, right? Make sure we can help with that transition from SharePoint on-prem into the cloud on the high side. So that will be sunsetting for DISA the end of December. And then the following September of 2024, we will be sunsetting the capability as a whole. So you can kind of see a lot going on. So I wanted to just take a minute and run through that. And if you have any questions on any of these, please don't hesitate to come see me after. I'd be happy to talk through it. And then, of course, sprinkled out, we've got all the subject matter experts that really make this all a reality. So I know they're standing by to answer questions as well. Okay. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the remarkable panelists to my right. So, Constance, I will start with you, ma'am.
Good morning. I will not break into song. Yet. It is such a privilege to be here. I see many familiar faces in the audience. It was just last year here when Carissa and I, with Nick and Jessup, had an opportunity to speak to you about what was coming for DoD 365 I don't know if I need to tell you guys any more. You already know all my background. But I am just super pleased to be able to be here and representing GDIT, but also representing the DEOS program. Mr. McRae.
I won't sing either.
Oh, come on, man.
I appreciate everybody's time today. I appreciate being here. It's great to see some faces we saw this time last year. It's exciting to be here again with the same panelists a year later, talking to where we've come over the last year, where we're about to go in a couple of months. So exciting to have the conversation with everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So definitely echo the Jessup and Constance's remarks about kind of feels like we've really come full circle in our journey over the last year. Certainly excited to be here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be at some of the other FCA panel events, but had some of my coworkers representing Microsoft. But very glad to be here today, and certainly part of this panel and the effort of DEOS program and all the good work that's happening there. So thank you.
And thank you all so much for being here. This is such an important topic as we roll out these capabilities for our warfighter. So a little bit about how we're going to go through this. I'm going to ask the panel some questions, but we're going to make sure to save some time at the end for any Q&A. And then, again, we have a booth set out, so if you don't get a chance to ask a question but would like to come see us, my team and myself will be at the booth later today. Okay. So let's talk about this DoD classified initiative. Jessup, we're going to start with you.
Yep.
So we've accomplished a lot in the past year, as you know. Could you talk about, for folks that aren't fully aware of what this DoD 365 secret cloud is, could you tell us a little bit about what this environment is and how DISA is going to be bringing this to the DoD?
Absolutely. So for those who aren't aware, we moved to 365 on aisle 5, right? This is going back a couple of years, and the embracing that for the community was huge, right? Everyone very quickly saw the benefits in security and collaboration and embraced it. And the natural reaction was, well, how do we move that collaboration services up into the high side environment, giving people something that I think as a whole we've all wanted for a long time and haven't quite got there in a unified platform, right? So over a year and a half ago, we sat down with industry, we sat down and said, here's our challenge, right? How do we bring this up? How do we get this cloud service up into a secure environment, right, and make it work for the community in a similar way? So we put that out to industry. We said, here's the challenge. Let's make this a reality. And that's what we've been working towards over the last year and a half, really, with great success, right? It hasn't been easy, but we've been making roads to get there. But to speak to how the challenges to get there and building that environment out, I don't know, Constance, if you had some thoughts.
Absolutely. Oh, I have thoughts.
You have thoughts?
I have thoughts. With that being said, though, right, I think, let's push that back a little bit. I think that obviously one of the key aspects to doing this was collaboration and, working side by side with Microsoft, with the government at the enterprise level, right? So it's not just with DISA, right? DISA was kind of taking the lead here, but this is an enterprise solution, and so it was, a community effort in receiving feedback and requirements from the various components to then figure out how we can build out this solution. We're also working at the speed of light, really, truly, to get this out as fast as possible. Yeah, there's definitely some.
Hold on, we're having technical difficulties. Do you want to turn theirs off and then we can just share the mic? Okay.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
So, I think it was very, very helpful to, to be able to have that kind of, immediate dialogue and discussion with the department, with Microsoft, right? And we had a couple of bumps, but for the most part, I think it's been a rewarding experience, and I'm really looking forward to getting us in the hands of the warfighter.
And it shouldn't be understated that this was done in parallel, right? So it wasn't like we waited for Microsoft to release the whole platform and then we went in and started doing testing. Microsoft was able to get us in early, right? Work with them to see what the needs were being met, what needed to be flushed out, right? And in partnership, move it faster than we could have previously.
No, absolutely. And I know, Nick, one of the things that is always of top of mind for folks, right? Because they've become so reliant on the capabilities that are available to them in aisle 5 on NIPR. Yeah. So what am I getting? What am I getting in SIPR?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you able to talk a little bit about kind of some of those differences and similarities?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, good. We got the audio working. So, when we really talk about what we're doing on the aisle 6 side, the focus and the priority, at least, not to say the totality, but the priority has been to deliver the core Office 365 communication, collaboration, and productivity experience that folks enjoy both across our commercial customers as well as within DoD 365J. So that's really been the focus. There certainly are other areas that are being expanded upon and adopted, but that's really been our primary focus, to get that out and into the hands of the warfighter as quickly as possible in order to meet those mission requirements. So when we talk about what does that actually mean, that's the set of capabilities that you think about as kind of Office 365 E3 in the commercial world. In this environment, we call it X3 for kind of branding purposes. But that's really Exchange, that's SharePoint, that's Teams, That's the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, the core productivity apps, and all of those capabilities and how they tie together. There certainly is a much broader set of capabilities that will be part of future roadmap, but that's really what we've been focused on over the last year as the foundational and core experience.
This is going to be fun. And I think it's important to mention, Jessup, you had talked about, it's been about 2 years since we all came together as a department with GDIT, with Microsoft, and sat down in a technical exchange meeting and said, okay, what do we see IL6 looking like? What are the department's requirements? And without hesitation, everybody was like, I need collaboration, right? And Microsoft said, okay, understood, let's start with these foundational capabilities. Let's get SharePoint, let's get OneDrive, Exchange Online established. And then we'll build upon that, and we'll get to Teams. And I have to say that between the partnership across our 3 organizations and the DoD CIO's office, we've been able to be transparent. We've been able to talk to folks, make sure we understand, and then communicate that back so that they can rack and stack and prioritize to get these key capabilities out. And, our focus is to be as aggressive as possible, and to steal General Skinner's words, be aggressive but not reckless, right? So do what we can to try to get these capabilities out. It's a warfighting network, so we've got to make sure we're crossing our T's and we're dotting our I's. But the team has done an outstanding job to make sure that we get there quickly and efficiently. So, I think you guys are going to touch on some of the testing results here momentarily, but it's been, I think it's been history in the making to see how they've really been able to knock down barriers so that we can get this done in a timely fashion. Okay, so moving on to the second question, which is really for all of the panelists. Let's talk about testing. How do you guys think that that's been going over the last year? What are some of the results, and what can we expect as we move into the summertime? Constance, you want to start?
Absolutely. So we, this is new, right? I think it's easy for us to forget that, oh, it's M365, it's O365, we've already had this, it's been in commercial, The thing is that this is actually a brand new product that was rebuilt basically from the ground up in this classified environment. So instead of being able to leverage, obviously I know Microsoft leveraged a lot of what was already there, but it all had to be kind of dismantled and rebuilt in this, closed off environment. And that's kind of easy to forget, I think. So what that meant for us from a testing perspective, and we hit on this earlier, right? There's 2 major releases. R1, which included sort of that foundation, right? It's SharePoint, it's Exchange Online, OneDrive, the Office apps, all of that is there. And then R2 included Teams and Forms. So when R1 was handed over to us, and here's where I'm going to get a little dorky, because that's just how I roll. When we were here last year, we hadn't even yet been hands-on keyboard, and we were here in April. So it's been exactly a year, almost a year since we've had hands-on keyboard with this product. And we had to tackle this in a way that took into consideration the fact that this is a brand new product. So a lot of testing was done initially during the R1 phase to really focus in on, is the product working functionally, right? Like at the end of the day, are you able to send emails? Are you able to share documents? And so we spent a lot of time focusing in on that. We did our own integration level testing. Then we opened it up to what we call canary testing or government acceptance testing. That was running for about 4 to 5 months, actually. And once that was completed, we actually did some more testing focusing in on some of those component use cases that we received from the components way back in the beginning of the project. Functionality, we're green. It's awesome. The things that we need this product to work and do, absolutely can do and execute. And, As we are in the process of doing a limited user assessment right now with R1, the team is actually wrapping up canary testing for R2. Absolutely fully recognizing the let's face it, as much as I am a SharePoint person, none of y'all are SharePoint people. Y'all want Teams, right? Like, nobody cares about SharePoint. It's fine. I'm over it. But everybody wants Teams. And so, we really, the DEOS program, right, really wanted to put an effort on making sure that Teams was available as quickly as possible. And I don't want to jinx us, but I think it's going to happen. So when we are fully, doing migrations for R1, R2 is going to be there, which I think is awesome. And I probably stole thunder, and I shouldn't have said anything.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, please.
I was just going to add, so the success of the functionality testing, we talk about that partnership and being transparent. As things were identified where code changes were going to need to be implemented or we needed to make some sort of modification, Microsoft was there and they were ready to go and move out. And due to the success of that, we were actually able to bring our deployment, schedule to the left. We were able to, at the end of January, open up the door to allow folks, the components across the DoD, to come into what we call limited user assessment, which is really just that ability to come in and kick the tires, right? We're still doing things in parallel, but why not, right? With minimal, folks, right? 5 or so, up to 10, 15, if you will, of your folks come in and kick the tires with us so that you can start to look at your network and figure out, okay, what changes do I need to do? What cleanup activities are going to be required for me to prepare for my migration? So we're excited that we were able to do that end of January, beginning of February, and that is actively underway while we still do our fine-tuning and getting ready for full migrations, which will be in the summertime, and more to come on that. Sorry, Jessup.
No, I think you hit most of the points there, right? No, I will add to that, right, that we can't understate the need to bring those people into that LUA, those few people from each one of your organizations, to make sure that you're ready for the larger ones. Hit those small problems with a small group, right, and then move on, right? On our hub site, all the information is there to come in, register, sign up. Our migration team is ready to help you out. They do an awesome job, right? Quickly bring people on and work through those things so your organization is ready to go when we're ready to do your full onboarding. Yeah.
I think to echo what Constance said, it's really important to call out that, like, when we were here last year, you guys hadn't even been, we were still in the process of building and deploying services, going through accreditation and auditing, and you guys were just getting started with testing and getting hands on keyboard. So it's certainly really meaningful to be here now this year where we're at a point of general availability. That doesn't mean the work is done, like you're really at the point of fine-tuning, driving adoption and onboarding, but that where we've actually been able to get to that milestone, and we certainly wouldn't have been able to get there without the close partnership, because particularly in these environments, it's not like, say, in commercial where we can go and stand up an entire test lab with endpoints across the country and everywhere else, where it's really in close partnership. So while we've had a lot of work to do to build and stand up and operationalize the service, that doesn't happen without both the close partnership with our government partners as well as GDIT and the rest of the partners involved in this program. So it's really been a team effort for sure.
And to add on to that, as we do these initial steps to bring people on, right, we're also looking at, well, what does that look like when we're bringing on the department, right? So, the DoD has the funds for those 500,000 users to kick things off, right, to bring people in, right, and it's not an issue that you haven't budgeted for that today, right? We've got that covered to bring you in and get you started, right? So there's no dual licensing costs as you come onto the service.
And then just a couple things to add. So we've had some late-breaking excitement, too, where the Honorable Sherman, the DoD CIO, made a decision that there will be one tenant for IL6, unlike IL5 where we're in a federated environment, and we're battling the cross collaboration, the ability to move between tenants in IL5. We will not face those challenges in IL6 since we will all be together in one tenant. So from a readiness perspective, we talked about the LUA. In addition to that, Kate, you're awfully popular today. We're going to talk about Kate again. Kate is also working with the DAFA's combatant commands and the services to do data calls in partnership with the DoD CIO office, because it's really important that we have an understanding so that we can plan for migrations in the summer, how many users each of those organizations have, so that we can start to scale. We've talked to Microsoft, and in using the lessons learned from IL5, we understand that once we get to scale, we'll start small, right, 500 or so, and then we'll build up each week. But the goal is to get to migration of about 20,000 users per week. And we know that we can do that because we did it in IL5. So we've got to prepare for that. So the sooner we can get folks into their limited user assessment so they can start preparing their network, the sooner we understand how many users they anticipate to migrate, is better for us, right? Get in there from a DEE perspective, using that as your guide of how many users you have on the classified email today. Use that as your guide to figure out how many users you plan to bring over. And then we can start that prep work to figure out what is that migration schedule going to look like. So a lot of work underway there as well. The CIO recently put out a tasker, and we've gotten back, I think, most of everybody's expected users so that we can start that planning. But we're targeting to have what we're calling your prerequisite checklist complete by the end of May, beginning of June, so that her team can get out there and start really, looking under the hood to figure out, okay, where do we need to make some tweaks? Where can we bring in our Microsoft experts to help you prepare for your migrations as we go into the summertime? Okay. Let's see. All right, so question number 3. As we talk to the components team, as we get out there and we get their feedback, there's 2 big things that have come back. Data segregation. We're going to live in one tenant. How are we going to segregate that data? Question number 2, how are we going to support our coalition partners? Can you guys talk a little bit about how we're going to tackle that?
Sure. Do you want to start or shall I?
Either way.
Well, I'll talk about the data segregation, data separation. There's quite a bit already natively. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Natively available as part of the M365 suite. There's a couple of things that are not, right? Some things that are very unique to IL6, it would be some of that classification and marking capabilities. So we are working with, investigating third-party capabilities that would help support that particular need to ensure that every component, their needs are met and addressed, with this particular product. But in addition, of course, we've got, dynamic groups, right, to kind of help protect the data. We have various policies being put into place to automatically ensure that only U.S. citizens have access to this particular piece of information. There's quite a bit that's being done to ensure security, to ensure that separation of information on top of what's already there, right? I mean, permissions are a key product and part of using M365. So I know, though, that one of the biggest concerns really is with our partners, our coalition partners, and who can access what, and are they going to lose access? So, Jessup, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So, I'll make a point right here that there's something that we don't, as a community, do very well, which is labeling of data, right? When we move into this IL6 space, we have the ability, we have the functionality to embrace labeling of data and doing segregation of data like we haven't done in the past, right? So we worked hard to get a platform in place that supports the model that we have today, but we're also putting in functionality that supports where we want to go, right? And this data segregation is something that we can't do very well today, right? So I would say to the group here, we are putting the pieces in place to enable that to happen, but we're going to need everybody's help when this comes online to take the initiative and actually use the labels that are being put in place to help that initiative press forward, right? With that, right, the second part of the question is, how do we support the REL users, right? And this is a topic that gets confused, and it gets all different angles it comes in from, right? But at the end of the day, like with the data segregation, like with bringing people on, when we move into IL6, right, you're going to be able to communicate with your REL partners the same as you do today, right? You're not going to lose functionality. But it is our goal to drive that forward, right? So with your embedded REL partners, right, and use of labels, right, you're going to be able to have the data commingled, right, but be able to segregate it. So if you're not a U.S. person, you're not going to get access to it, right? Again, coming back to labels. That is for our embedded REL users. For those folks that are outside, right, that you're going through the BICES network, you're going elsewhere, you're on a different network, you're not going to be able to come in and do that native 365 Teams collaboration out of the gate, right? You will still be able to communicate with those partners via email the way you do today, right? That's not going to change. It's still going to work the way that it does. But now that we have a platform, right, that's stable and we're happy with, right, we start to move on to those next challenges, right? And what we're looking at is how do we enable that functionality across into those Five Eyes partners, right? We don't have answers for it today, right? But maybe next year we'll sit here in front of you and say, hey, we've got those answers. But we can tell you for today, you're going to be able to still communicate with those folks as you do today.
You have one other thing.
So in regards to the sensitivity labels, right, to kind of circle back to something we talked about at the very beginning, this is a DoD-wide platform, right? So it is not DISA rolling out and saying these are the labels that are going to be there, right? And you're stuck with those. This is a collaboration that, as part of onboarding and ongoing discussions, we'll be working with the components to identify their label needs, identify their data segregation, data separation needs, and work to put those into place. So it's so easy sometimes to forget, right? But this is an enterprise-wide solution, which is a little different than what we're used to. So I'm really excited to be able to work with the various components on that.
All right, thank you. So I think what I'm hearing, Jessup, just to kind of summarize, from both a data segregation and a support for the coalition partners, they will expect equal, if not better in some cases, experience when they get to IL6 than what they have today. And we're successfully going to achieve that goal on day one of into production. Okay. So how am I doing on time? Okay. So as we think about next steps, DIS is going to eat their own dog food first. Our focus is, come June 1st, we are going to start our full migration into this next-gen enterprise cloud collaboration service, which is history, right? I mean, this is a big deal. This has never been done before. So we've got less than 30 days to go. We're really excited. We're finalizing our plans, working with our DISA CIO office, working with our network folks. A lot of collaboration underway across DISA stakeholders to make this a reality. The reason we want to go first is we want to just make sure we've got a chance to smooth everything out. And then a couple weeks thereafter, our goal is to start with our migrations with the DAFAs and the combatant commands. Some may ask, okay, well, why not the services? DoD CIO a couple years ago partnered with us to obtain a certain color of money to be able to purchase the licenses for the DAFAs and the combatant commands. At the time, the services, where there were still discussions underway. So we said, okay, let's press with the DAFAs and combatant commands, let's obtain those dollars. And so we are able to purchase those licenses. That contract's already been awarded. We have those in place. So that's why we're prioritizing the DAFAs and combatant commands. That's why you're seeing the DEEC sunset service for the DAFAs and combatant commands is the end of September. The services are working to obtain the necessary dollars to be ready for migration as we proceed into the fall. And then we will sunset DEEC March of 24. So next steps. What's next? What are we doing to help our mission partners prepare for their onboarding, DAFAs and combatant commands first, as we look to the summertime?
If I don't get this right, Kate's going to come find me. and Jessup, rescue me. First things first, right? Especially those that are not currently participating in the LUA, but please do go and put in an SRF, right? That's kind of the first step. Just to let the user engagement service request form, thank you. I was told that if I ever got stuck, just to throw out a bunch of acronyms. I mean, why not? They like that. Okay, so put in that form to let the user engagement team know, that you're interested, that you are ready to engage. While that's going through the process, do some house cleaning, right? Same thing that you did for IL5. You need to make sure, clean up the mailboxes, get yourself a little bit more organized, identify those labels that you're going to want, right? A lot of that is just, and that is all nicely outlined in the onboarding guide that Kate and her team have made available. Walking everybody through kind of what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and the work that needs to be done. It's pretty awesome, the lessons learned and the experience that has been leveraged as Kate was building and her team was building the IL6 onboarding process. She was thinking back to the fun times they all had for IL5. So this is a good process, and I think it's going to be maybe a little more smooth. Yeah. We'll see. Do you want to get me out of less trouble from Kate, or are you enjoying Kate's daggers at me?
Oh, no, this is good. I like that.
Kate, you got anything else you want me to add?
Yeah, I think you hit it all, right? If your folks aren't there yet, come to the hub, get signed up, right? Get on board with us, right? Start working this with us, right? Be part of the conversation with us. Yeah, it's exciting.
I think that's the key. A year ago, for any of you that were here, I became like the collaboration chick. I don't know what I called myself at that point, but I'm very much into collaboration, and that is absolutely what we want to do with the components. That this is not this is how you're going to do it. This is how are we going to do it together to get you in and get you set up and configured correctly.
It's not a DISA offering, right? It's a DoD offering, right? It's for the DoD. It's for you guys, which means we need all the voices to come to the table and make sure we're meeting the initiatives that are going to get you going in that environment, right? I think we're there. We think we're there. We like it. I think it's going to be successful, but there's always going to be those little nuances unique to your environment that we can't anticipate, right? So if we can do them now with you before a whole group of your folks get hit with the problem, right? It's better for everybody.
Yeah, and I really want to foot stomp what Jessup just said. This is an enterprise service, but it is a DoD enterprise service. This is not a DISA service. We are doing this with the DoD, and right now we are in the process of, while technical things are happening, we're looking at policies, looking at how do we need to make some modifications so that we can manage this jointly. And so the seniors in DISA are supporting us to figure out how do we get comfortable with being uncomfortable with this, because this is for the DoD. This is a warfighting network, and we take that very serious. And so that is something we're actively looking at right now, and in partnership with the DoD CIO office. Okay, I'm getting the looks that we're approaching time. So I want to make sure that we give plenty of time for questions. But first, I want to just thank the panel so much, for all the great conversation. And with that, I'm told I have to give up this mic, and we're going to turn these back on. Okay. Yeah? All right. Testing. Good? Louder or no? It's good? Okay.
Hello, Bill Schultz, Headquarters Air Force. I'm one of your test folks for the Air
Oh,
Force.
good.
I'm getting a lot of questions from users. First one is, what's the initial mailbox size going to be, and what are our options? We're all DEE users right now.
Sure.
Do you want to take it?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a service perspective, the licenses that you guys are purchasing will entitle you to, same as on the DoD 365J or IL5 side, 100 gigabyte mailbox size with the licenses. Certainly there may be administrative policies to change that, but that's the core standard Office 365 mailbox entitlement.
Okay, the other question I had real quick was, how is this going to tie into the DMCC? So in other words, do I need to turn in 300 or 400 units that I have to get them re-provisioned?
That's a great question.
We are actively working with our mobility team.
Can you all hear him?
Can you hear me okay? Yeah. We're actively working with the mobility team. Mobility will be supported, as you migrate onto the service, right? DMCCS, WinDAR, they'll all be there. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep, so your the mobility devices, your WinDAR devices, the goal is that you'll be able to continue as you were, but with enhanced collaboration on your mobile devices to include your WinDARs. Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. Hi.
Hello. Mr. Eckstein, U.S. Army, the collaboration, is it still going to function like the 365 where everybody can work simultaneously on the R1 rollout? Or is it going to still be like a shared drive, you got to check in, check out?
No. So your OneDrive functionality, you mean, will be the same feel as on Nipper, right? So no, it won't be checking in and checking out the document. You'll be working collaboratively on the document.
Yeah, co-authoring is fully supported.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going in and out. Okay. I'm told it's going in and out. So you guys got to really talk into that mic.
Right on the microphone.
Right on the microphone. Right there. Hi.
Hey, how you doing? Thaddeus Boyd here. I got a question. You're talking about the data segregation IL6.
Yes.
So we're talking about our partners. When you're talking about NATO, do we have like policy already, like information that's actually out there to say that how it's going to be accomplished? Because usually things like this, you got to start with the policy. I've been actually looking for myself, so I don't know. Has it out there so that we can plan to execute these things with our mission partners and provide that to them?
So this, you may
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So the policies, this is part of what I was saying. We're going to be working with the components at the CIO level to identify those policies, make necessary updates, and then be able to push that out so that folks have them.
Okay, so and that covers if you're talking about IL6, it's going to be like one tenant.
Right.
So like they're all going to be they going to be all part of one.
Correct.
So it'll be part of that updated copy. Thank
Yes,
you very
sir.
much.
No, great question. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Tommy McCullough from DISA here.
Oh, hey.
You mentioned
I
earlier
know
some,
you.
Wait a second. Yeah,
I know you guys.
You were a tester.
You mentioned earlier some lessons learned and you applied them from IL5 to IL6. I'm curious what your lessons learned are so far from the IL6 side for whatever comes next.
Do I get to do a snarky comment? Not let Tom be a tester? No, in all seriousness, right? Actually, I think Carissa hit on it earlier. Because we were working in parallel and so closely with Microsoft, as we were in doing testing and touching the application and the products, we were able to immediately turn around and work with Microsoft to get those items addressed and fixed. I think that's actually the biggest lessons learned, right? Like the biggest lessons learned is that this cannot be done in a silo. We need to be working with our partners closely and have transparency and collaboration right there. A lot of times we tend to get a little too focused in our own little world, and so that was a huge lessons learned, I think, for going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, so transparency is huge.
Yeah.
Right? And there's things that we want to do, there's things that Microsoft would love to be able to do for us, but there's challenges, right? So it's that putting it out on the table, this is where we want to go, and Microsoft being open and honest about, well, these are the challenges we have to get here, right? But this is how we're going to approach it, right, together. So it's gotten us quickly where we need to be.
Hi, James Mann, Arkansas National Guard CIO. As we roll into the DoD cloud environment as a collaboration portal, we're not going to change email addresses again, are we?
No.
Do you want to?
We can make that happen for you if you'd like to.
Right here. Just tell us what you want your domain to be.
With the DIPS going to the soft phone, so will that allow, instead of just Microsoft calling from one team to another, it'll actually be like a DSN, so you could reach worldwide, or is it still just going to be within the team's environment?
So we should. So when we're talking about DIPS, we're talking about IL5. Right?
Yeah. So
we're not
IL5.
We're not
DIPS.
talking about IL6 DIPS just yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, but that's okay. It's a great.
But your audio calling teams to teams will work right in the teams when it's released. You just won't have DSN dialing out from the Teams client.
So, and we've got some of the other engineers. Anything you want to add to that, gentlemen?
Just to make sure we're clear on that, right? On the IL6 instance, that's correct. On the IL5 instance, if you come as a DIP subscriber, you will be able to make a DSN call as well as a PSTN call.
Does that help? Okay, you got it.
Hey, Rodney Lewis with GSA. So with DEOS, contractually speaking, with JWIC coming online, what is the future of DEOS? Is it ever going to integrate in with the JWIC contract, or is it always going to be a separate program contractually?
With JWCC?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. So we're currently looking right now so for IL6 in particular, as we think about our subscription purchases and our license purchases, we're leveraging the DEOS BPA for FY23. As we look to FY24, I'm working with DISA leadership and GSA to look at what other options are out there. JWCC, for example, I know that the Navy has their own contract that's available. So we're looking across to ensure that the best value is going to be provided. So still in the early stages of what that looks like, but Ryan MacArthur, the PM for JWCC and the contracting officers over at the Navy, we're currently in that brainstorming phase of it. But for initial, we're using the DEOS BPA. With you, Rodney. Any other questions? We've got 5 more minutes. Oh.
G. Ramscar with SES. I was just wondering if you could talk about the timeline or roadmap to supporting the tactical environment.
DDoS. Yep. That's a really good question. I don't know how much you know about what's going on with the DDoS, but the two of you maybe tag team that one?
Yeah, so DDoS is a tough one, right? It's always been a tough challenge, right? And this sort of falls in that same category I was saying before, where out of the gate we have a set of functionality, right? That functionality is, I think I lost my mic. That does not natively support DDoS, right? It's something that I think Microsoft is aware of. Microsoft is looking into what those possibilities might be. But for right now, you're stuck with sort of what you have today, right? You know, depending on what level of DDoS you're talking about, because again, this is something that there's multiple levels to it. You're looking at sort of a hybrid approach of mail, right? Potentially, but there's a lot of details that go into the specific scenario you're looking at. So out of the box, short answer, out of the box, no. Day one, it's not going to have like a DDoS checkbox that you can light up and utilize for those services.
Can you all touch on a little bit on, so the Marine Corps has the lead for this, and they're in the process of standing up a test environment, and I think they may already have that stood up out at MCTISA. Do you want to touch on that a little bit? For
IL-5.
Right.
So there's a working group that's trying to tackle DDoS for IL-5. IL-6 isn't even on that roadmap, right? So it's going to be some time before you see that really embraced on the IL-6 side of the house. Now, you know, depending on where you are, right, access to 365, right, from the web is accessible, right, to an extent, right? But every scenario is going to be a little different.
Thank you. That's a tough one we're working on. Any other questions or comments as we wrap up? Okay. And I do want to take a second and just to kind of recap some of the key takeaways for folks as we talk about IL-6 and kind of what I heard. R1 is SPO, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, and email. That has a general availability for Microsoft. We've completed our testing. In parallel, we're looking at Teams right now. We're in the process of testing that. DISA will go first, and I just want to clarify, DISA will migrate the end of May. May timeframe is when we kick off that DISA migration, with the DAFAs and combatant commands starting in June. Please participate if you're a part of any of the organizations that are interested. We really do encourage you to be part of our limited user assessment now. We recognize that the timeline for the summer, I mean, we're here. So the sooner we can get you in, the better. And this is a DoD tenant. This is not your typical DISA enterprise service. Obviously, we will be there, but we are going to be operating in a joint construct, working with the DoD holistically to operate this. But we welcome feedback. We want to be as transparent, but we want to hear your requirements, because at the end of the day, this is a warfighting network, and it's there to support and help operate and defend. Any closing remarks from the panel?
I will just say that it has truly been an honor to be working side by side with these amazing folks, and it is history, as kind of silly as it sounds, right? We were the first in this environment. We have partners, I think, FBI, State Department, who are starting to look into this. But even more, like, we had the first Teams call in SEC just a couple of weeks ago. It seems dorky, but I'm just going to call it what it is. It was pretty exciting, to be able to have that level of collaboration that we've become so accustomed to, right? Maybe a little too accustomed with all the chats that we've got going on and everything, but it just makes life so much easier, and that's right there, and it's working as expected. So I'm just so pleased to be here representing GDIT and getting to see this to fruition. And I'm sorry, Chris, I got to do this. I got to give a shout out because I got some key people.
Shout them out.
Shout them out. We've got our lead engineer in the back looking all, trying to be all
Raise your
kind
hand.
and stuff.
Don't be shy.
And we've got our lead cyber who's here, been working hand in hand. And we have plenty of other folks that are here. Our user engagement colleague helping Kate.
Stratcom made this happen.
We got Stratcom. Yep. So we've got a lot of folks here. So do not hesitate to come find us over at the DISA booth, or in my case, maybe the GDIT booth. So
I see what you did there.
You did like that?
Yeah. Jessup.
So I'll just say, to kind of echo Constance's point, we're a couple people up here that get the opportunity to represent a very large group doing a lot of work, right? Working really tirelessly to make this a reality, right? So it's great to be up here. I hope to talk to everyone over at the booth, and I look forward to what we're going to be talking about next year this time with migrations behind us at that point.
Yeah, one of the things that brought me to Microsoft and has really been, I think, exemplified in this whole program and effort has really been our mission statement to empower every person and organization to achieve more. And so it's really, I think I speak for everyone at Microsoft when I say that we're humbled to have this opportunity to bring that to our servicemen and women in support of these important missions and environments. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again for your time today, for joining us to hear about what we're doing in the DEOS portfolio, and thanks again to the panel. We will be around, and we'll hang around here for a few minutes for anybody that has any questions after. Have a great day.
Good job, guys. Well done.
Thanks, sir.
You guys had most of the speaking parts.
What's that?
I said you guys had most of the speaking parts. It's